So my name is Dr. Tronica Vanzant. I'm a licensed acupuncturist and herbalist, and I love helping people get better. I always have. As a kid, I always wanted to be a doctor or a veterinarian. My nickname was Dr. Tron because I took care of nursing and tending to the whole family. Burns, cuts, scrapes, rashes. We actually had a family cat who used to get into a lot of scrapes, so there was the occasional puncture wound as well. I loved helping people get better. Even when I entered the workforce, I always cared about how people feel, function, and relate because I thought, when those things are good, then people are healthy and they can thrive and they can bring their best selves to whatever it is that they're doing. But even with this desire and drive, I didn't initially go into the healthcare field. I actually started my career in the tech and consulting worlds, and I did that for over 2 decades. But when it was finally time for me to start a family, that's when I became more involved in the healthcare world. But it was from a consumer standpoint to start with first. But before that, I really had a need to go to the doctor. So I worked in the consulting field. And for anybody who's done that kind of work, you know how intense it can be. There's a ton of travel, very long hours, high visibility projects, short fuses, overly high expectations, and some pretty grumpy executives. It gets exhausting after a while, physically and mentally exhausting. As you can imagine, this is not an ideal environment for good health, let alone for getting pregnant. And it wasn't until I worked with a fertility clinic and they had me see an acupuncturist. He gave me regular acupuncture treatments, but he also gave me a lot of herbs. I took herbs 3 times a day, for several weeks, actually, maybe even a month and a half or so. But it helped. It truly helped. And I finally did get pregnant and I was thrilled. Now, of course, my job environment didn't change at all. I was still in a high stress place and traveling a lot, and it was tough. But at about 6 months pregnant, I couldn't travel anymore, so I moved to be on site with my clients. So there was no more travel, but I also moved away from my family, my friends, my whole support structure. And at that point, depression was starting to set in for me. My son finally was born via an emergency C-section. And when I finally got home with my new baby boy, my depression got a lot worse. I saw a therapist. She gave me antidepressants. I finally ended up taking them after I weaned my son, but they didn't help. In fact, they made my situation worse. And I went into what I now call the gray void of existing. Because after taking those drugs, I didn't feel sad anymore, but I also didn't feel much of anything. There was no pain in my world, but there was also no joy. I totally felt like a zombie. So I stopped taking the antidepressants because I figured feeling something was better than feeling nothing. And it wasn't until I hired a nanny that I started to get better. She took care of my son for a few hours a day so that I could get some sleep, some uninterrupted sleep. And she made me some really nourishing soups and stews that replenished my body. I didn't understand this until many years later, but my hectic job, coupled with the blood loss from my C-section, made me what Chinese medicine calls blood deficient. And that's roughly equivalent to anemia. And if I had taken herbs to nourish my blood while I was pregnant, or even after my son was born, I likely would not have suffered from depression. The only thing Western medicine offered me was drugs, and they didn't fix the underlying problem of my anemia. They never would have. As a matter of fact, there's research out there now that shows that certain SSRIs actually can cause internal bleeding and lead to anemia. So there's no way those particular drugs could have helped my situation. They really only would have made it worse. I'd never spent a lot of time in the Western medical system, but this experience left me feeling like they really didn't have solutions to help a person actually heal. And even when it came to just managing the symptoms, that also failed. I just felt like they didn't have helpful options. So this made me aware of how important it is to look at the whole person, their physical, mental, and emotional world, because all of those things have an impact on what's happening in the body and they contribute to the overall pattern. And that overall pattern is what needs to be addressed to help a person heal. So this is in part why I decided to go into healthcare, but it's very much why I am whole person focused.